All Access, an inside look at what it takes to operate Iowa's largest entertainment and convention facilities. This is Iowa Events Center All Access from Iowa Everywhere.
And what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of All Access here on the Iowa Everywhere Podcast Network. We're presented by our good friends at the Iowa Event Center. That's where my man Adam Flack is at. Adam, how you doing today?
Matt, we're doing great. You know, the Grammys were last weekend. It was a great night of music, and between the performances and, you know, Taylor Swift blowing up the internet again with her new album artwork, I mean, it was a great night to celebrate all things music. Did you catch it at all?
I did catch a little bit. I caught right when Taylor Swift was on stage and kind of, broke the internet with her announcement. And I think she might kind of break the internet again this weekend with the Super Bowl. You know who I'm going to be cheering for. I think I might know who you are too as well.
Yeah, right? I think we have a shared interest there. But I heard that they asked Brock last night during their little quarterback interviews if he was okay, disappointing Taylor Swift in the fourth quarter.
I think the word was breaking the heart of Taylor Swift, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. In his, easy manner that he is, he never gets rattled. He just said, yeah, he's okay with that. So I'm good. It should be a good game this weekend. You
got plans for the Super Bowl?
Not really. You know, it's pretty low key around my house. We'll all get together and watch it, and maybe a couple people from the neighborhood come over. But for the most part, just, I don't deal with a lot of good distractions watching sports. It's easier just to watch.
Well, I've been a lifelong 49ers fan. It just so happens, Brock Purdy's our quarterback now, so I have even more of a rooting interest. But, I think I may just watch the game by myself. I have a hard time, especially when my team's involved. Like when I watch the Super Bowl and my team's not involved, it's fun to have the big party. But, with my team being involved, I kind of just want to be locked into the game and no distractions. So
still not sure why we don't have Monday off. Maybe because we're going to be prepping for, one of our big events that we'll talk about here a little bit later with Chris Cuellar. But, that Monday after the Super Bowl seems to be a holiday is what they need to turn it into. So.
Absolutely. You mentioned we'll get to Chris Cuellar here in just a little bit from the Iowa High School Athletic Association. He's going to talk all things state tournament, some big things happening around the state with high school prep sports as well. But hey, you guys some exciting announcements that you guys made in the past week. Some big shows coming to Wells Fargo Arena.
Big shows. They don't always come as planned. We had a couple delays in announcing a couple of these shows, but over the course of the last couple of months, we've been able to announce Lil Wayne, who will be making his first appearance at Wells Fargo Arena, Barry Manilow, who will be making his second appearance and final appearance at Wells Fargo Arena, and then Luke Bryan. And Luke Bryan is a show coming up August 24th. We just announced, goes on sale this weekend. And that's a show that we have been close on 4 or 5 times over the course of the years. And so I'm still not sure and if I'm going to believe that he's coming until we get the tickets on sale. But, we had him announced and on sale, and then COVID hits. And before that, it was, he's on the books. Never mind, we're not announcing. So it's been a few different times. We're excited for 3 different shows coming up.
So Lil Wayne, April 11th, Barry Manilow, August 1st, and Luke Bryan, August 24th. Luke Bryan has some history with our state. He comes back every summer for that farm tour, doesn't he?
He does,
small town to come to. So he's been to Iowa a few times.
He has. I think last year it was outside of Colfax. I know he's been outside of Boone. It'll be interesting to see because our date is August 24th, right after the state fair. So the farm tours typically in September, October, maybe. But I'm not sure if that means he'll be coming back again this year for that or not.
Mm-hmm. Has Lil Wayne ever played at Wells Fargo?
No, first time.
Okay, first time.
So that will be pretty exciting. Yeah, we're we were supposed to have it a week earlier, just to give you a peek behind the curtain, and something happened with another market where they couldn't do the back-to-back date with us, and so we had to shuffle some things around, look at a different week. Fortunately for us, just a week later, and we were able to get it announced that next week. But again, sales are going strong for that one, better than in a lot of other places for him. So we're excited to have him.
So the first time for Lil Wayne performing at Wells Fargo, and maybe the last time for Barry Manilow. I think that they say is this the farewell tour or?
Yeah, they're pretty specific that it's not a farewell tour, but it is the last Des Moines concert. So they are pretty confident that it'll be the last time he appears in Des Moines. They're not going as far as calling it a farewell yet. So he's, I think he's 81 years old, still puts on a great show. He was here a few years ago. So something for everybody coming through.
Absolutely. Well, want to mention too, we still have those 2 contests going on at iowaeverywhere.com. We have the Zach Bryan Quitting Time Tour coming April 25th and 26th. You can still get in. We got one more week, I believe, of entries for that. Actually, maybe we're announcing the last winner on Thursday for 2 Guys Named Chris. So you got a couple days left to get into that contest. iowaeverywhere.com, super easy to get in and sign up. I know we've had a couple thousand entries for that, Adam. So I appreciate you guys, given that opportunity to our listeners. We'll have if you win that, you get to bring 3 of your closest friends. You're gonna have food and drinks in the suite, so that should be a really fun show. We're really looking forward to that one, April 25th show.
Yeah, that's again, we're all looking forward to that one. High energy show. Don't get to do contests with suites very often, so it is kind of a once every couple years that we can play with those suites that way. So happy to give your listeners an opportunity to get in there.
Yeah, and Valentine's Day is coming up next week. We actually have another contest going on. This one you don't have to go to our website. This one you got to enter sending us an email. It's for Kane Brown's coming to Wells Fargo Arena April 18th. We're giving away a bunch of pairs of tickets to that for you to bring your significant other. All you have to do is send us an email to win@iowaeverywhere.com and let us know why you're thankful for your spouse or partner. And you'll be heading to Kane Brown April 18th with a $50 gift card to one of our great full court press restaurants here in Des Moines. So I know a lot of those right around the arena, so you can take your partner, go get dinner before the show. Again, that's win@iowaeverywhere.com. And we're actually going to announce one of our winners right now who we've chosen, and that is Matthew Scher. Matthew Scher, congratulations. You're going to Kane Brown.
Wow, congrats, awesome. Matthew. It'll be a great night. I mean, one of the great things about events down here is that you can come down, you can park early, hit one of those close restaurants and bars in the downtown area, then make your way up to the arena. Then on your way back to your car, maybe stop in again and relive the experience that you just had. So we appreciate everybody downtown that's accommodating in terms of parking and restaurants and bars. And congrats again to Matthew for winning.
Yeah, awesome. I'll be in touch with you, Matthew. Well, man, it's not just concerts coming to Wells Fargo Arena and the Event Center. You guys have quite a few other events that are going to be happening around the building this weekend. You got a jam-packed weekend coming up.
Yeah, we talk a lot about we talk of the concerts here a lot, but the entire facility will be busy once again. We've talked about Jurassic Quest in the past. So Friday through Sunday, Jurassic Quest happening at Hy-Vee Hall. At the same time, Friday night, we have an Iowa Wild hockey game. And then the ISU Alumni Association's Cardinal Gold Gala going on in Community Choice. So all 3 facilities booked. Saturday.
I'll be emceeing that event.
Oh, okay. So, well, you can have a chance to see Matt down at the Iowa Event Center this weekend.
Come see me. Yeah.
Then Saturday, out with the Cardinal Gold Gala, and the American Heart Association has their Heart Ball, as well as Jurassic Quest still going on, and that's the annual Pink in the Rink game for the Iowa Wild. So that's always a impactful night for the hockey. And then Sunday, Jurassic Quest wraps up. So 2 big galas, Jurassic Quest and 2 hockey games. And, we're sitting here on a Tuesday afternoon recording this, and there are probably 8,000 screaming kids right across the street in Wells Fargo Arena.
Can you hear them? I'm listening.
It's the Iowa Wolves Education Day game going on right now as we're recording this. So it's nice to sit back in the office and talk to you instead of going over there and listening to the screaming for a while.
Have you talked to the players? Do they enjoy that atmosphere when the kids are in?
I was just listening to the radio call on the game, and they had mentioned that, it's a morning game after back-to-back is not always the best. The players aren't always in the best mood to begin with, and then you come in and you don't want to do anything in front of 8,000 screaming kids either. So I think they enjoy it. It's nice to play in front of a lot of people, but it is a different environment to play in than a normal game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, it's hard to imagine that the state tournaments are coming up right around the corner. Boys and girls basketball. I know you got soccer coming through Des Moines here pretty soon. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to bring in Chris Cuellar from the Iowa High School Athletic Association. He's a communications director over there to talk all things high school sports. Chris, how you doing today?
Good to see both you guys. Adam, I think I'm going to see you more than my own family over the next
Yes, we'll get your room all ready for you when you get here. So we're ready for state wrestling.
Ecstatic.
Yeah, state wrestling. I forgot that's a big one coming through. Tell us about state wrestling, how much time and preparation goes into that? I know there's a lot of moving parts going on behind the scenes, figuring out map placements, who's coming in, which teams, parking on your side, Adam. Tell us what goes into planning for state wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, we're already on it. So we had state duels this last weekend over in Iowa City, and that kind of kicked off the whole wrestling extravaganza that we get to deal with. And then the state traditional tournament is now 4 days at Wells Fargo Arena, and basically taking up most of the available space at Iowa Event Center. So we've got over 1,000 qualifiers, over 100 officials and tournament workers, and that's not including our own staff who works around the clock down there. So it is a labor of love, and we turn it around pretty quickly from district tournaments, which are coming up soon. So it's the biggest event we do. It's the most chaotic event we do, but it's all good.
Nice.
So that event, you used to do duels the day before the traditional state wrestling tournament. A couple years ago, that changed, moved it over to Coralville, the brand new Extreme Arena, which is a phenomenal facility. Now you add that 4th day in. So is the dual tournament and executing that just a good warm up to get back to the traditional tournament? I mean, is it 2 completely separate events with, kind of explain to our audience that maybe aren't wrestling centric, the differences in the 2 tournaments?
That's great. So the dual tournament is a team versus team event. And so we have 24 teams there. I think, Adam, I used to call it dress rehearsal day. I don't know if you felt the exact same way, but that's how it felt at the time. We used that and then led into the 3-day tournament. But a lot of the teams that qualified for the dual team tournament were at the big traditional tournament anyway. So they just kind of stuck around Des Moines. Now they come to Iowa City a couple weeks in advance, so it doesn't butt up against or cause any kind of scheduling issues with the traditional tournament, which is the biggest win out of all of this, is that they don't have to worry about waiting for an extra day or competing hard in multiple matches and then coming back and wrestling their peak event a few days after that. So now we're at Extreme Arena, which is a gorgeous facility, houses that event perfectly. And we follow the girls tournament, so a lot of our tournament workers and officials get to stick around. So logistically, it works really well as well. So it feeds in, but now it's just kind of the opener to our tournament season. So this week I'll be doing state swimming, and then diving into state wrestling, and then bowling, and then back at Wells Fargo Arena for basketball. So the duel is kind of that team versus team. It's still not as big of a crowd as the traditional tournament, but now it's more of a kickoff than a dress rehearsal.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you mentioned basketball, and I go to a lot of high school basketball games, and what I've noticed, the rule changes that you guys have made in basketball over the past couple seasons have been great for high school basketball. I'm assuming you're getting that feedback across the board, but the shot clock being introduced, I think that was last year, has been going great. And then the free throw rule, where you're going 5 free throws and then 2 shots right away, no more 1-on-1s each quarter. Talk about that. Are you getting good feedback on those rule changes? And then, what goes into that from a basketball standpoint? Who makes that decision to make those changes?
So great question. I'm flattered that you think that we get positive feedback. Those are national rules changes. So we're a member of the NFHS. Every state association across the country is, and the IHSAA was one of the founding members. So we follow what is a national rule set. And so the officials can learn a national rule set. It's a uniform rule book. They can be reciprocated in terms of officiating in Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, places like that. So we follow that, but it's multiple years of changes. The shot clock was a couple years ago, and obviously that had been a topic of conversation in high school basketball for like a decade. But it created an option for state adoption. And Iowa and our board we have a lot of basketball people on our board, and they were like, yes, we're going to adopt it. So we were actually, I know people feel like it was a decade late. We were one of the first 15 to 20 states to jump on the shot clock. So that has been really successful so far. We've only heard of, a handful of issues or infractions, if you want to call them that, over a year and a half, and mostly positive feedback on that. Getting rid of 1-on-1s, something that, we had seen. It almost feels like if you watch women's college basketball, either of you, the changes reflected women's college basketball in terms of quarters, resetting fouls, getting rid of the 1-on-1. And it just provided a quicker, uniform, more efficient, and then per the studies, maybe limit injury on that first free throw by getting rid of the 1-on-1. And any kind of risk minimization, high school sports are usually going to take that opportunity. So it takes some adjustment. I think the first time I heard it, I was like, no, the 1-on-1's an important part of basketball. But it's really been pretty seamless, and our officials have done a great job taking it on. There's always new rules coming down the pipe, but it varies by sport, and NFHS is where we get our rules from.
Okay.
I'd have to imagine too, like you said, it improves the quality of the games you're seeing too, because I know a lot of teams would come in with a strategy of just like slowing the clock down, without the shot clock. They would just hold the ball during the state tournament and be like, oh, that's not really a fair, that doesn't seem very fair for these teams that are coming in to play the whole season and to have it that way. So I'm glad you're seeing the success with that. Going back to state wrestling, it really is a unique sport. It gets talked about nationally, how much passion and energy gets brought into our state wrestling tournament. That the Saturday is always sold out. I know, or is it Friday? I can't remember. Friday.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday nights are always sold out, and it is such a unique sport where you're getting, as opposed to like basketball, you're getting so many people from all over the state. With state basketball, you're only getting eight schools in for per class, but with wrestling, you're getting all different kinds of schools. How unique is that to be able to host all those different people, and how do you put on such a high quality event for that many people and schools coming in?
It just takes, I mentioned the work in the lead up, it just takes the full attention of multiple organizations, multiple interests of the event. Adam can talk to that on the actual event center side of things. I mean, I can't imagine even the number of parking people that it takes to get all these Iowans turned in and out. So now we're talking 1,000 different qualifiers from around 200 different schools. So how many different towns is that? So we're coordinating with traffic to come into town, with hotels, obviously, restaurants, there's expenses paid, there's ticketing, there's folks coming in with credentials, passes. I credential over 300 media members usually for state wrestling, and then we've got to find a place to put them. And then we've got to have a way to get everybody around and so that they know what's going on. It's the biggest circus we have. And I think that first day always feels like the house is on fire and you're just trying to put it out in a million different places. But I think that's what makes it so fun. And I think the fans enjoy it and they feel that kind of energy that's happening out on the mat. These kids are wrestling the biggest matches of their high school career to that point, probably, maybe of their lives. Wrestling, it's not like basketball or football with the professional level. So the intensity's there, the passion is there. And so the last few years, it's just kind of been getting back from that 2021 odd pre-vaccine tournament that we had with 5,000 people per session. But a lot of it comes down to the staff at Iowa Event Center because we're talking over 10,000 people per session. Matt and Adam, how many places in Iowa can host 10,000 people per session for 4 straight days?
Yeah, I think one, and one of the biggest keys to that is we're seeing better adoption on advanced ticket purchases through online. And that just makes things seamless for the fan. If they're used to it, because most high schools are now doing advanced ticketing. My son's 8th grade basketball games, you have to buy your tickets in advance. So more people are used to that, which just gives one less issue to have when people get on site. It's like, bring your ticket when you get here, you get in a lot easier, you can find your seat because it's general admission until the finals. And so, you'll have those schools. It's one of the coolest things. You open doors and these schools will all beeline to a certain section where they can get together with their team and their colored shirts. And you look across the arena and who's chewing or who is cheering for what student athlete, because they're all wearing the same shirts. And it's one of the coolest spectacles we do.
So, Chris, you guys announced recently state soccer is going to be moving over to Drake Stadium and Mediacom Stadium for the finals in Mediacom Stadium. What does that change mean for student athletes here in our state?
Good question. Besides the playing surface, County was grass, and both Drake Stadium and Mediacom Stadium are turf. So depending on your perspective, our big schools have been playing on turf almost all year long, and most of the smaller schools play on it numerous times throughout the year. But that is a pretty big change in terms of the sport. In terms of facility, that's the biggest, I guess, for us, upgrade for the semifinals and finals. As those crowds increase, as the needs of the facility increase, we were really excited that Mediacom Stadium was able to be an option for us. And I think size-wise, almost like Extreme Arena for the girls wrestling tournament and for our dual team wrestling, it really suits the event. We're going to see if that totally plays itself out, but it's a gorgeous new facility. They were excited to have us, and we're excited to be there. So from a fan-going perspective, that'll probably be the bigger adjustment than just playing on grass or turf.
How do you manage, as the organization overseeing all of these sports and these state finals, the student athlete experience and the fan experience? So you've got what's best for the student athlete that's coming to participate, what's best for mom or grandma and those coming into the stadium to watch. I mean, how do you balance? What are the priorities there, and anything new that you can share with us that's coming up for this year?
That's a big question, Adam. So Iowa is the only state in the country that separates boys and girls by athletic association. So our job at the Iowa High School Athletic Association is overseeing the best experience we can for 70,000 student athletes across all of our 11 sanctioned sports, and then tens of thousands of more students across other activities that we offer and student outreach programs that we offer. A small fraction of them will get to come to a state tournament. So the primary job we have, and most of the year, is taken up by caring about those events, enforcing rules, regulations, sharing information, providing resources for our schools, for those 70,000, right? So that's what we do spend the bulk of our time on. But we are totally cognizant of the fact that most people interact with us for that little bit of time for those state championships that has those qualifiers. So, I mean, I know I talked about 1,000 wrestlers coming down to Wells Fargo Arena, and that might sound like a lot, but again, we've got 70,000 participants. So it really is, it's the cream of the crop in every sport that make it to those state tournaments. Then once we get to those state tournaments, and Adam, I get to see you for a few extended days, that means we're focused on those state championships and providing the best experience we can for the student athletes, for their schools, for their coaches, anybody in their community that might want to come and actually see the event. So our job ranges from everything, including making sure that it's at the best possible facility and with the best possible schedule and arrangements and plans that we can put out there, to making sure that the event and the tournament are as competitive as possible. So that takes a lot of considerations. I can speak to this as we're recording. I released basketball pairings yesterday for small schools, brackets, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions about who should be bracketed where. But and it is important, and we spent a lot of time going over it. But it's a small part of what we do, and we really are concerned about the greater ecosystem and the success of Iowa high school activities, which we're really fortunate here. Iowa loves high school activities, and people really take it with great importance. And so for us, that means that what we're doing is under a magnifying glass, and we need to do it well.
People have opinions, really? I didn't know that. People have strong opinions about high school sports here. That's breaking news to me.
I would rather have that, though, and people be interested and have those opinions than be in a state. And we have some surrounding us, not going to name names, you can take your pick, but numerous pro sports teams, maybe one city and then a rural state around it that cares about high school sports, but the city that dominates everything and that dominates the media landscape only cares about pro sports. So you're relegated to, a different level and maybe high school or junior college type facilities, which can be really good. And we use a lot for lead up events, but we're really fortunate that we try to find these premier, elite level places to provide these state tournament experiences for so many kids and so many schools.
One question I had for you, Chris, and I don't know how much you can speak to it, but hockey is really a growing sport in the state of Iowa. Obviously to the north of us, and even into Wisconsin, maybe even Illinois. Those are sanctioned sports, big obviously in Minnesota. Has there been any discussions or talk about sanctioning hockey in the state of Iowa?
Not recently. So we have a bylaw that provides that 15% of our member schools have to offer a sport before a championship will be offered in it. We could talk about emerging sports before that, and usually, those conversations start before we get to that. But bowling is the thing that we most recently sanctioned, but that was, we've got 120 bowling schools. So hockey, I think on the school level, it's really important and successful to the places that do it, but we just haven't gotten to that 15 or close to that 15% threshold to be totally concerned about it. And all that is to say, if it got there, sure, we'd revisit it, absolutely. Just like we would boys volleyball or rugby or any other sport that wanted to be considered for something like that.
Yeah, it comes back probably just that accessibility of ice, the rink time, and it can be a difficult conversation and difficult to have. I know there's been ongoing discussions about new rinks in Des Moines too. So, with the emergence of the success of the Iowa Wild, I know it's a growing sport, especially here in the Metro. So, Curious. Thanks for answering that question.
You're going to give me even less hair than I've already got trying to think about winter dates where we would squeeze in that hockey tournament at Iowa Events Center, and I don't know that there's any availability.
What about moving baseball out of the summer? Has that ever been discussed? I think I was still the last state to have baseball and softball in the summer.
That is correct as well. You're going to get me in trouble with all of Adam's baseball. Yes, it is discussed regularly, but we've taken a vote of our membership, and the baseball coaches have spoken on this issue quite a bit. And right now, no, I don't think it's going anywhere.
I'm a fan of it. I loved the summer baseball, and playing the names, and just a great atmosphere. And I know it's unique, but I didn't mind the hot summer days. It's baseball.
Yeah, we hear all sides of it, and I think there are some discussions about maybe how we can adjust the summer to make it work better for everybody involved. Officials, athletic directors, not just those baseball diehards who show up in the summertime, but all the people that have to support them. But it's not going anywhere right now.
Hey, from a participation standpoint, what is your top sport? I think people would assume it's football, but in terms of student athlete participation, does it go football, then basketball, then wrestling? I mean, where does that lie in terms of the state?
Great question. And allow me to promote our record books on our website. We have participation data of every sport in there for folks who would like to check it out. But it is football, and it's not close. Okay. Football remains our number one sport by participation. It's down from a peak of 22,000 to around 17, but it really has settled over the last 5 years. About 17,000 boys, all grades, participate in high school football in Iowa. Track and field is actually number 2. And it provides a lot of opportunities. Teams can be very large. You can have numerous JV events. It's not a contact sport, so you maybe get a different kind of kid that might otherwise come out. So that's been number 2 consistently for a while. And then you get your baseball and basketball after that. So but yeah, I wrote about it when I was a journalist, and it's been interesting to see it on this side as we try and promote the sport. But football, I think, was kind of under attack, or depending on who you talk to, was in a little bit of a free fall in terms of participation numbers. But it's held steady at number 1, and it's still the thing that we probably have to put the most time into as the athletic association, because we're talking one night a week and maybe 4 or 5 nights in a fall at any given community or school. And so it gets a lot of interest.
Yeah, and I know it's gotten a lot of interest in terms of, how you're classifying teams and the different classes. So I'm sure that hasn't been easy. I don't know that we want to get into that today, but it's been interesting to follow and watch it, because like you said, people have opinions on that.
It's unique. And so while we I mentioned perspective, we try to think of all of our sports, we try to think of all of our communities, all of our classifications. There are situations that make certain things different. Swimming has 1 classification because we only have around 50 schools doing it. So we're not going to treat it like it's basketball. Yeah. Football, we're at 7 classifications. We offer an 8-player level. We've got a unique setup with the Unidome and the semifinals and finals being there, and an interesting districting cycle. So it's unique.
We got between state wrestling, state basketball at Wells Fargo Arena, track and soccer coming up. You guys are busy, so we're gonna let you go, Chris. But thank you so much for your time and talking a little bit of high school sports with us.
Absolutely, Adam. I will see you soon.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, before we go, why don't you promote your podcast? I heard the Athletic Association started their own podcast, and people should go check that out. So tell us where to find it.
I'm happy to join you guys. We are also, the IHSAA is on podcast. So it's called Game Changers. It's available anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're 3 episodes in. We're talking to different game changers from around Iowa high school activities. So if you want to hear from coaches, student athletes, students who are involved heavily in just different activities around their school, officials, athletic directors, we're just going to try and offer that perspective from across the landscape, and also bring some news and some background information from our organization. So those kind of aggressive questions that people ask me that they don't read my FAQs for, I'm going to answer them on the podcast. And so we'll take those things to task and have a little bit of fun. But Adam, maybe we'll have you on in a few weeks. So.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Chris Cuellar, the Communications Director for the Iowa High School Athletics Association. Always good to get his perspective. And Man, the people over there in Boone, they stay busy, don't they, Chris or Adam?
Oh, they do. And you don't even understand all the different sports. We're talking about 2 different championships that we host, but when you hear everything that's involved with all the different student athletes, all the different championships, all the different sites that they have to go to, it's hard to keep it all straight, but they do a great job and produce high quality events. So fortunate to be a partner with them.
For sure. Well, we mentioned again the shows and the show announcements that you guys have had. Lil Wayne coming April 11th, Barry Manilow August 1st, and Luke Bryan August 24th. HiVTix.com. Are all those tickets available right now, Adam? I know those ones just went on sale pretty recently, right?
Yeah, everything but Luke Bryan. Luke Bryan will go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. So Friday, February 9th at 10 a.m. But other than that, get your tickets now. We've got a lot of Valentine's promotions coming out. So check iowaeventcenter.com for all your details.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, hey, for Adam Flack, for Chris Cuellar, thank you for tuning in to All Access presented by the Iowa Event Center here on the Iowa